Y'all used to hate on all of my moves, but now niggas on it. Y'all used to debate me on me and my views, but now niggas on it. I used to tell them I'ma have me a show, but now niggas on it. Her homies on it, your homies on it. Y'all used to hate on all of my moves, but now niggas on it. Y'all used to debate me on me and my views, but now niggas on it. I used to tell them I'ma have me a show, but now niggas on it. Her homies on it, your homies on it. Realest podcast.
What up, people? We back. The Realest Podcast ever. We're here on location today in New York City at the wonderful WTF Media Studios, one of our homes away from home and our favorite locations to record at. I got my guy Wolf Taylor here handling all of the video, audio needs, making sure I look good, making sure my guest looks good, and we extra crispy today. I'm joined here today to continue our Women's History Month celebration, and we're talking to women that are making history now in real time. And we're joined by a very special guest who came very highly recommended by a huge TRP supporter and a former guest, none other than Mr. Jay Petty. Today's guest is an Hbcu alumni at Hampton University and a rising star in the world of advertising, marketing, and brand management. In 2020, she founded the AdMagic program with the support of global advertising giant Wieden+Kennedy that provides knowledge, access, and exposure for Hbcu students to the advertising industry. The AdMagic program has been an absolute game changer that sent shockwaves throughout the industry and Hbcu communities as well. Her client list, both past and present, includes A-list brands such as IHOP, Venmo, Beats, Kissimmee Tourism, and global footwear and apparel giant Nike. Because of her transformative vision and work, she was honored by AdColor as the 2023 Change Agent, one of the industry's highest honors. She joins us today for our second feature for Women's History Month. TRP Nation, give it up for charity Pourhabib.
Oh, I'm here for the bio.
Now, see, you know, when I prep for a guest and all of that, even if they're like, oh, let me just get like a, you know, like a loose rundown of what we're going to talk about, whatever, I never send them the bio because I always got to get the reaction in real time on camera, you know, of the whole rundown because, you know, I try to make it to where it's its own moment of letting everybody know this is why you need to listen to this is why you need to watch this.
Period.
And this is who we're talking to. So
it's crazy because I feel like you don't really realize how much is happening because everything is moving so quickly. The years are flowing by. Then you're like, oh, yeah.
And you're in it also.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between being on the outside looking in versus the inside looking out. And when you're doing, you know, so much stuff, you know, starting, you know, committees and organizations and, you know, doing your work stuff and 14th and Market and all of these different things, it's just your life. It just is what it is. And you're not necessarily recognizing like, I'm really, you know, kicking some doors down here. I'm really outside doing a lot of stuff. So thank you for joining me today. And again, congratulations on all the continued success. Like I said in the intro, you came highly recommended by somebody that I absolutely trust and had nothing but amazing things to say about you.
Okay.
I think the fairest way to start the conversation is simply by asking you to tell us and the audience about your background and your upbringing prior to all of the success that you're having in your professional career.
For sure. I mean, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. It's dope, especially in this month, Women's History Month, to really recognize women across, like hearing people that you've spoken to. So I'm excited to see her and talk with you. The upbringing from pre-advertising days. It was funny. I was thinking about that the other day, like talking with students about like how things start and all the stuff. So I'm from LA. I'm like from a world of women. Like I have like majority sisters in my life, all of that. I have an older sister and god sisters and god brothers that I've grown up with. But yeah, I went to, let's see, I mean, I'm like, how far should we take it back?
However, wherever you want to start, whatever you think is pertinent to bring us up to modern day now.
Got you. Okay. So I went to Price School for middle school. And then I went to Bishop for high school. And then when I was in LA, because I think LA can feel very much like a bubble, I would say. Where
there's a lot of, not to cut you off, there's a lot of different LAs. And depending on where you are, who you're with, and what you're trying to do, it can kind of determine your outlook and your LA experience.
Yeah, I mean, literally where you're from can change your entire experience. Where you go to high school, like I know people who went to like Westchester versus Fairfax versus like Bishop, where I went in Torrance, different experiences.
Yeah.
But it's funny how like connected LA is, I would say, where even if you went to these different schools, you know these people, you grew up around them, like it's all in the mix of culture,
right,
where people were like grounded or hung out on the weekends and say. And so, yeah, so I'm from LA. And then coming out of that, because it was such a bubble, I felt like I wanted to go outside of LA for college. My sister went to UCR. And so I've definitely had the privilege as a younger sibling to see what life could look like before me.
Absolutely.
Have those experiences. And so I wanted to go out of state for school.
Yeah.
And because I had that example, I always felt like if I hate it, I'll just come back to LA.
Right.
You know, like I know I'm gonna come back to LA.
I know what this is.
Yeah, the sun is here, my family's here. We'll do that. But then I went to Hampton for college and I loved it. It was just, it helped shape me and help give me tools in a way that I don't think I would have received if I didn't like leave home and get a different type of independence, a different type of exposure. The people that I met, the diversity, the cultures, I was all up and down the East Coast having a ball. So yeah, it was dope.
For a LA person moving, making the trek all the way cross country to go to, rural Virginia, Hampton University, and leaving the hustle and bustle of SoCal to a whole different hustle and bustle of everything that's going on up and down the East Coast. How much of like a culture shock was it for you, if any?
Oh, it was for sure. It was for sure. Everything, living in the seasons was a lot. It was a new wardrobe.
Yeah, LA is one season.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I can't just wear a hoodie. Like, I really have to buy coats and put on. They were like, yes, you cannot you cannot wear Vans through the snow. You're going to be wet and cold. So all of it was an adjustment. All of it, but it was just dope to see so many people from different places. Like, I had homegirls from Memphis, from North Carolina, from New York. And it was just, and I didn't have that before. Like all you had was people from LA and then from your city.
Right.
And like, yeah, maybe you had family in different places, but you didn't have that difference where I felt like, and everybody I went to school with had people from everywhere. Like they were like, oh yeah, my homegirl's from Jersey. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a very East Coast thing where it's like, you're from where you from, but you got family that are, everywhere because 95 corridor is so big and so expansive. You got people up, down, and around, that whole way. And, even for me growing up in Philly, I had family that lived in Baltimore. I had some family that was in New York, stuff that's just like,
it wasn't none of that. It wasn't none of that. And it's far. Like, it's not even a straight flight from LA to Virginia. Yeah. So it was all that learning. Like I was flying alone. I was doing all that.
So out of all of the, potential universities, colleges that you could go to, why Hampton and why an HBCU?
Oh, I love the thought of an HBCU. Like I grew up, you got drumline, you got all these. So it's like you're feeling it in that. And then when I was in high school, they had the Black College Expo in LA. And you basically bring all your stuff and they accept you on the spot. And they do the whole thing. So every HBCU pretty much is there. And you just take all your stuff and you go from table to table. So I got accepted to Hampton and I was like, oh, it's lit. And it just kind of all fell into place. Like one of the girls, we went to high school together. She was going there on a tennis scholarship. And I was like, oh, I guess we could be roommates. This is good.
Right.
Another girl who was kind of like a mentor to me, she was like in SGA at Hampton. So she was in it. She was like, you're going to come here. This is what it's going to be like. I went to high school day. I loved it. Yeah. And so it just kind of all fell into place. And I was doing a lot of selling it into my family. I was like, it'll be good.
Yeah, because I know they were like, huh?
What? You're going where? You're going to do what? I was like, let's just go to high school day. Let's just, I was easing everybody into it. And then, I just honestly, that's how I felt. I was like, if I don't like Hampton, I'll just come back to LA. Yeah. I'll go to like.
So what was your backup school?
I won't hold you. My backup school on the low was St. John's.
So you're going to go even further away.
I was like, I'm leaving LA. I was like, I'm about to dip. But I was just like, you could go to any UC school. You could go to any Cal State school. So I was like, I could figure out how
and that was another question I had because California is its own like university ecosystem alone. Some of the best schools in the country that people, break their necks, break their backs to get into these schools. And you're like, Hampton, St. John's. Like,
well, my sister, she was at UCR. So I was up at UCR. I was at the parties. I was there with her. So I was like, oh, I kind of got a little bit of it. I was like, let me just see what it is. And I was just excited about the possibility, like the thought of going to a HBCU, the value of it, what I felt like it would be. I'm the first in my family to go to an HBCU also. So yeah, I was like, let's see.
So with that in mind, talk to us about your HBCU experience and how it molded you into the woman that you are now.
The Hamptonian woman, they say.
It's a prestigious woman.
A prestigious woman. But in every way, I would say it was a lot of like growing up. It was a lot of independence that I was like having to be faced with.
Yeah.
And it was also a value of like, my world will never look like this again. Like I'll never be in a space with people who have because it wasn't just like being around people, Black people. It was like we were all working towards a very similar goal. Like
right.
We're all trying to get a degree. We're not just like at the party. Like when I say I got to leave to go write a paper, they're like, me too.
Right.
I got to go too.
Yeah.
So it was exciting. Like I met some of my best friends there. I had a lot of like learning lessons and challenges that I had to like really navigate myself while I was there. And so it was a lot. My senior year, I also had like just a huge growing up because my sister had a big accident my senior year and I was so far away.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm growing up professionally in academics. It was like my life was growing. I had to like really tap in on my faith. It was like, what does it look like when it's just you? And how are you going to be navigating the world? And what tools do you have? And when you build relationships with people, it was important because this is real. It's not just, oh, I'm in LA. We hang out on the weekend. I'll see you maybe next week. And it's like, no, I'm gonna probably really need you. I need to show up for this person. Like life was happening to all of us. So it bonded the people that I was there with very intimately. Yeah. The relationships that I had, I really valued, how I was growing up, all of that. It was like, you got to do this on your own.
Right.
And granted, my family was there, but it was like, I was there.
Yeah, exactly. So with all of that in mind and, you know, just thinking about like your HBCU experience and everything like that, why was it important for you to hold on to that connectivity to, you know, the HBCU legacy and say, I want to build something that's going to forever, you know, connect me to this larger ecosystem of HBCUs everywhere?
I honestly wasn't even thinking of it that way. Like I wasn't, like of course I wanted to like build something and make something, but I wasn't considering it in that light. Mm-hmm. When I'm a very pretty ambitious person. And so my senior year, I'm like, I'm going to get a job when I graduate. Like I'm interviewing. I'm like, I'm going to have this lined up. I'm doing prep interviews. I'm having my resume looked at. And so it didn't happen that way at all. And while Hampton prepared me for the world, there were just certain aspects that I just didn't have access to. I didn't have exposure to it. I had the general idea of how it worked. Yeah. But the real of like, this is the process and this is how it comes to life, I didn't have that understanding. And so when I graduated from school, it was funny. I had like this whole page just called Intern Life because I was interning everywhere. Yeah. And I mean, I loved it. I was outside with it. Like I would be at a party and I would meet somebody. I'm like, if it was even just like someone I was attracted to as far as like how they're moving, how they're navigating, what they have going for them.
What do you do?
Like, do you need an intern? Because I will show up at 9 a.m. and I was showing up at 9 a.m. the next day. And so I just did a ton. Like I worked at Live Nation. I worked at Frank 151. I did PR for like people on reality shows. And I did a lot of stuff that got me closer to what I wanted to do. Got it. And it kind of, as I was going along that journey, I was forming the program that I run now, AdMagic, in so many different ways. But it was more of just like looking at needs that I was seeing, looking at my experience, my peers' experience, what was happening in the industry that I liked or I didn't like. And then it was forming, and it is what it is now. And when I look back and I'm like, oh, it is everything you said. But it wasn't, I wasn't looking at it like, oh, what can I build that's going to be a legacy? Right. If that makes sense.
And it's great that you brought that up on your own, because I was trying to lead you there, but you got there anyway. The greatest and most expansive companies are the ones that identify a need, whether it be, you know, a communal need, a national need, a global need, or whatever, and they solve that need. You look at companies like PayPal, Venmo, WhatsApp, whatever the case may be. There's these articles about, you know, like the PayPal mafia and stuff like that, about how they all were basically backing out of a problem and saying, all right, how do I solve this problem in terms of people being able to, you know, communicate globally without, you know, crazy messaging fees? How do I get people to be able to send money from Zimbabwe to Chicago, Illinois, and stuff like that with, you know, minimized fees and stuff like that? So what you did, you created something that solves the problem of for somebody like you that went through all the rigmarole of like trying to build out your future in advertising, marketing, brand management, and you say, all right, well, this is how you get there, and you built a bridge to get other people that might be unaware to that end goal of this is at least where you start at.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think, and it was interesting because it's like once you get into the space, it starts to click. And you're like, oh my God, I know so many people who do great at this thing. I know so many people who are doing this, but they don't know this is how it translates.
Exactly.
And what does that look like when you have knowledge of what something is and you don't learn about it at 35, you learned about it at 20. And it's not that it's like wasted time because I don't, not even that consideration, but you can get to maybe where you want to go in a simpler route. You don't have to go through all of those aspects.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of taking the stairs, you take the elevator.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let me ask you this. Before we jump into everything about AdMagic, when or where did your interest in the world of advertising first start?
I was always curious about storytelling. I think that as you grow up, it was just a big part of my life. A lot of the women in my life are educators. So the value of knowledge and literature has just been a part of my life. But I would say it's interesting. Like I felt like the stuff that I was like, say for example, the stuff that I was interested in, like I would be watching a toy and my mom would be listening to the track of it. And the way marketing is just so interesting in that way where it's like it draws people in and you end up being a brand loyalist to a brand and you're like, I don't even know how I got here.
Right.
This is the only toilet paper I use, okay? Yeah. I don't know how this happened, but this is it. And so I just got curious about it. And for Wieden, I was always curious about their work because I was always looking at Nike's work as far as just like the storytelling that they had, who they were showing, how slick it was, how it wasn't readily available. Also, I was always like, who and how and who is, what is going on? And so as I just dived into more about creativity, I was just interested in like how people were doing it and who was behind it. And it just has always had, the industry has just always had a curtain around it, whether it's what the language is, what people call a commercial.
Right.
All of those things have just been, if you know, even when you get into it, no one's just like, and here, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we say. This is when I say deck, I mean presentation, PowerPoint. Right. It just happens. And you're just like, okay, I guess I'll just catch up.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think, and I'm learning about the industry in real time by knowing people like you, being great friends with, JP, talking to Leah pretty frequently and stuff, that every industry has its own jargon. And if you're not a part of the industry, the nomenclature can be just a barrier to entry alone when you may have certain skills that translate, but you just don't even know because you're not speaking the same language.
Yeah, at all. Like imagine you're in a space and it's taking you probably like a good year to be like, okay, I'm clear when strategy comes in. I'm clear when...
Got a little concert going on in the background here.
Like I'm clear what these departments do and how they function and when they come in and how they work with the client or how I pull them in. It takes a minute. It takes reps. It takes practice. It takes like how do you navigate with all those people, especially depending on your department. So it's a lot of layers.
Right. In 2019, you joined Wieden+Kennedy Portland, which is, I believe, is their global headquarters, right? After a stint at Campbell Ewald and Zambezi, which I believe is rebranded now to just Campbell Ewald, from what I did in my research. What were some of the early projects you remember working on at Wieden, and what was that transition like from company to company?
Well, Wieden is independent, so transferring over to an independent, I would say agency is different because it's just you. There's different agencies that have holding companies and there's different things like that. And so there's just a different setup, I would say, at Wieden.
Got it.
Wieden is a very creative space, I think, as it was just made to be from Dan and Dave. So early, when I got to Wieden, I worked on Facebook, and then now I work on Nike. And then the first client that I guess I ever worked with was at Campbell with IHOP. And that's where I fell in love with my department and just how it works. Like with IHOP, you were either in production, in pre-production, like I was always in it.
Right.
And I fell in love with production that way, how we worked with strategy, how I worked with creative. So I really enjoyed being in account management because you got to have context to everything. I understood the why I got this feedback, what it means, and I like to be in that driver's seat of everything. Because otherwise you're just like, okay, this is how we're gonna roll, this is what we're gonna do. But I like to really understand that context. And then working with the clients, like I love sales, like the act of it, the marketing of it, all of that. And so seeing work and selling work and solving problems with clients and knowing when to like bring in your creative partner, bring in your strategist. Like one of my mentors, she once told me like a really great account manager has a tool belt of people that you know when to like pull different levers and bring people in and have those conversations. And all of it should seem like it's not even happening in the mix. Like it should just feel like things are flowing.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I would look at people do it seamlessly and it was attractive. And I would look at people as they worked on different projects and the exposure that you get too. Like I've had the opportunity and the privilege to travel the world and make incredible work with so many just very talented people. And it blows your mind a little bit when you're sitting there. You're just like, I thought of this? Like, we're making this? And so, yeah, it's the idea of how things can come to life. Like, I was talking with a student the other day, and I was like, when you transition from school, you go from like the imagination of what things can be. Like you're putting together mock presentations and who you would potentially bring in, but all of it is like imaginary.
Right.
And you come into the real world and you're actually pitching. Like I actually think, you know, Janine Teagues would be this, or I actually think Snoop should be on this, and it's made. And so it's that bridge also of like, this isn't just an idea. This is real.
Right. Currently you serve as the brand manager on a global Nike account for Wieden. Tell us about some of the notable campaigns you worked on for them, and what are you most proud of in regards to the relationship with Nike at large?
Everything. Like Wieden and Nike are, you know, family.
It's symbiotic.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm super grateful to work on the account, knowing just like how it was, you know, formed together and the opportunity to work with such, honestly, it's the people for me. It's the incredible minds I get to work with. It's the projects. Like you go through so much creating things together that you become bonded with one another. You have these memories. And that's the part that excites me the most, because you can work on any project, anything could happen in the world, all these type of things, but I enjoy working with the people. That's what excites me. And so I've had the opportunity to work on just amazing accounts along the way, projects along the way. Let's see, I'm thinking in my head, like the Nike Yard Runners account that I worked with JP and Leah and everybody.
I love Nike Yard Runners. The ad copy, the mark, it's brilliant.
It's so dope.
And it's very bold and very almost like counter to what Nike has done, because it's a lot of times Nike singularly kind of like focuses on like, you know, an athlete or an experience, and this is more so inclusive to a range of people, a range of universities and stuff like that. So to me as a consumer, it looks and feels a lot different than anything they've done before.
I mean, I think great work should feel for you. You know, you should feel connected to it, especially when it's talking to you. And I mean, coming from any HBCU, coming from Hampton, it's like to work on Yard Runners is incredible. So yeah, I mean, it's dope to see what can be made. And when you're working collectively, you know, they say a good idea can come from anywhere. And when you have that synergy with people and you build that trust, like all of that, you have to have all of that to make great work.
Yeah. Serena Williams is a GOAT, a legend, an icon, a million more superlatives. How did it feel to work on a campaign for her?
Oh, I mean, it's like you're kind of speechless when you're talking about it. Working on a spot even remotely connected with her it's like lifetime stuff. And I worked on it with two incredible creatives that I love their minds, Whitney and Jordan. They're just amazing, two other Black women. And so, yeah, to make that and look around the room and know that who you're making it with and what we're doing and the impact that it's going to make. And also just like the impact she's made in everybody's lives, how the sport looks, how you advocate for yourself as a woman, so many different things that she has battled, having children. The list is so long that it's like to be even in the same sentence conversation, have a touch of it, it's just fire.
Right. We talked about Nike Yard Runners. Give me some backstory about the campaign and how it came about and your role in it.
Got you. I mean, Nike Yard Runners was running for a little bit, and I was talking with JP, and he was like, I think we're gonna touch Yard Runners. I think this is something that, you know, we're gonna make happen. And so when it came along, just excited to be along in the process, to be honest. It was running for a little bit with some of like the founding members of like League 22 and Dex. And so we came in with just adding like creativity and such, and just like being a part of that whole family. So that was kind of like our addition along with it with Wieden. And it's just been awesome to make it alongside, especially with other people who went to HBCUs and knowing what that feels like. It's dope to hear as a consumer what that does and how that translates, especially at Nike.
Absolutely. All right. The moment we all been waiting for. AdMagic. I wanna spend a good amount of time on this and talking about this program.
Okay. Let me take a sip then.
And fleshing it out, because I think it's very important and is very necessary, and it's transformative what you were able to do with this. Tell me the inspiration behind AdMagic and why you felt it necessary to make this program a part of your legacy and your cultural footprint.
Got you. So I've AdMagic has been in the works for a while. It was something, and I've always had, looking back on it, bits and pieces of it. When I was at Campbell, I did probably like the one-day version of AdMagic.
Okay.
I had my alum middle school come in for the day and speak to, you know, each person from a department, and we made these posters right when Wakanda dropped. Is that what it's called?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. That's not what it's called. Right when Black Panther dropped, and our design studio put their faces in the posters, and they were able to see themselves in it. And it was just like a dope day. And so talking with my peers and looking at my own journey, the steps of AdMagic kind of came to be of like, what did this look like if I understood what the process of creativity was?
Right.
What would it be if I just knew someone in the industry that I could ask a question to? Like, I didn't have to send a formal email and be like, can I have 20 minutes of your time?
Right.
Respond. What does it look like if I could work on something connected to it? And so I've started like putting together what those pieces would be like. And I wanted it to be supported in a space that really valued that foundation.
Right.
And knowing how Dan and Dave built Wieden, when I got to Wieden in my interview, I was talking with them about not only what I wanted to do, but a space that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in a space that really valued mentorship, that valued growth, that valued youth, bringing in different minds, curiosity, all that type of stuff. And so that's right up, you know, Wieden's alley.
Yeah.
And so I just pressed go, to be honest. It was funny because it was right when the COVID pandemic happened.
Right.
And so we pivoted, but the pivot was, looking back, it was great because we got to expand in ways that we wouldn't have been able to if it was just singular and in person, and what that would be. And it's been a learning process. Like, it's been a little like making the plane in the sky. It's been a, you know, trial and error, fixing this, fixing that. How do you get access? Who can work? But I was thinking about this earlier, and that quote of like, make it and they will come is very true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just happens in a really beautiful way, that putting those pieces in order, I really feel like God will just bring you the support, the people, the access that you need to just take those next steps.
Yeah, something generally that I usually despise about corporate America is like the general theme of like, hurry up and wait. Meaning like, we hear you, we see you, we acknowledge this is a good idea, but not right now, for like, you know, whatever reason. AdMagic, by comparison, is something like you said, from the time you're interviewing, you're already talking about, you know, this thing and what you want to do. And, you know, what about this program do you think made, you know, your, you know, the leadership at Wieden say, this is something we need to get on like immediately and start giving you the infrastructure to, you know, to make that program a reality?
I mean, honestly, I think it was the ethos of Wieden. You know, we do how Dan and Dave, what they did in the community, what was important to them, how they spoke about diversity or things like that. It was all in the same line. And so coming from an HBCU background, looking around the room, like, it's, you know, people are aware like what the industry looks like. And I think when someone comes in and they're like, yo, I want to help influence this, I want to help change this, this is where I'm coming from, this is what I want to set up, it's kind of like okay, well, I got you. We'll figure it out. And so I think when you can set things up for people, because sometimes they feel too grand. Like sometimes they're like, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like it's too big of a rock to move.
Too big of things. But I think when you set it up where it's like day by day, like I want to do some panels, I want to have some mentorship, I want to figure out how we could have a cool client for this. And it's like, okay, that's manageable. Let's see who could do this or who could do that. And I do a lot of my own campaigning also.
Yeah.
So like,
your own campaign manager.
Like, what does it look like if we do this thing? Like you got a free couple of hours this month?
Yeah.
That's how I want to use them. And this is what's important. And then you meet people and you know what would be important to them. And it's really just like, I know you care about this thing. I have this thing. Right. Let's do this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some of like the curriculum and like the rubric for AdMagic. What does this incoming student have to look forward to if they're a part of the program? They
get to look forward to being outside of their comfort zone consistently throughout the entire program. Yeah. They get to look forward to being challenged. They get to look forward to being in a room where there's greatness all around them. I think sometimes we go from being like one of very few to one of like, you look around like, oh, everybody's fire here. Like, oh, okay. Right. And so it's challenging. It's exciting. It's outside your comfort zone. It's going to be emotional. You're going to meet people and be in rooms that you've never had. It's going to be fast. It's going to be quick. But, I tell students all the time, you're going to have the support. You're going to have the infrastructure. Let's communicate all the way through it. Like it should feel challenging. You should feel like this is a lot that's happening right now. I've never done something because you haven't. You haven't done anything like this before.
You absolutely haven't.
So it's, the biggest thing for me is communication. We all do our best to support the students throughout the program because they also are in school.
Right.
And I want them to succeed. And I also ask the question in the interviews as far as like, is this the right season for you to be in this program?
Right.
Like maybe it's next year for you. It doesn't have to be right now. It doesn't have to be this is all that I have. And so I want them to be set up for success in the program because what you're going to receive is a lot. You're going to get so much access. You're going to be able to do so many things, travel. There's a lot that happens and, you got to be able to balance it. It's Absolutely. Your school, it's work, it's your family. And when you come into AdMagic, you're aware that you're a student, but you're an adult, you set when you step out and do dinner or you do your lunch or your one-on-ones or your coffee, you're in charge of your calendar. And so we give them the tools and the practice of like figuring out those kinks and getting that going. But they can, it's a lot that they experience.
Yeah. How big of a difference do you see in the students from the beginning of the program to the completion?
Huge. They walk in curious, like you're not really sure what's happening. Like you have the general idea of like, okay, I'm gonna do department panels, I'm gonna learn about strategy and creative, I'm gonna have mentors, and we'll do this thing. And at the end of it, it's such a difference because they can talk to people in a way where they're able to network themselves. They're clear on what they want. I talk to them a lot about developing your point of view. Like in everything you're doing, you're practicing that. You're saying not just like, this is what I like or this is what I don't like, but why? Right. What's good about it? What makes it good? What makes it bad? Who is the difference of artists that you like and why you like them? And all of that is reps and repetition. And so yeah, they grow a ton. I was talking with them earlier today, and they were like, "I can't believe it's the last week of the program." And I'm like, "Yeah, it happened so quickly." Yeah, but the growth in it is a lot because they go back to university and they're back and they're like, "How was Amsterdam?" They're like, "Oh, it's just crazy." It's
right,
crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just them experiencing this motion, and so as they balance all of those things, they grow in ways where they're looking at their life as far as like, what do I want to do? How does that change the trajectory of my university? How do I want to grow? What do I want to focus on? So yeah.
Right. How long is the program from start to finish?
It's like 2 months and change, I would say. Yeah, we started this year like the second week of January, and then this is our final week in March.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Transitioning a little bit. For those out there who, like me, don't know about the AdColor Awards and why you winning the Change Agent Award is such a big deal. Tell us about the presenting body And then also about the award that you were so blessed to win this past year.
Yeah, I mean, love AdCaller. Shout out to Tiffany. She's done incredible work in the space of real exposure and real access and creating a weekend that it just honestly feels like none other. Like, it's like, what do they call it? Like I can't even, it's like not the hangover, but like when you leave AdCaller, you feel it. Like you're like, oh my God, I can't believe AdCaller is over. But yeah, it's amazing to be recognized in that space. There are so many people that do great work in different ways in this industry. And to have something that shines a light on that, where you can be aware of it, tap in with them, support them, it's incredible. The people that I was nominated with, like even Rihanna, I know her from LA, like Three's a Crowd. I've been a part of that collective in LA. And so it's just fire when you look around the room. And the room is huge. Right. First of all,
yeah, I saw the video.
I'm like, you got like table 200 over there. So the room is huge, and it's every level, every department, every brand. Like they want a presence there. So to even be nominated is incredible.
Right. What exactly is the Change Agent Award specifically? Because I saw they give out a bunch of awards.
Yes. So the Change Agent Award, I would say, is somebody that's being literally what it's called, but having an influence in your industry, trailblazing throughout, having an impact as far as like what the industry looks like, how it navigates, how brands navigate with agencies. It's a good definition. But it's really just like the impact as far as like what that is. And when I said there's so many people making those things, whether it's like 3% or changing what leadership looks like or bringing in support for people who have like different ERGs, like there's so many ways to go about it. And it's exciting to be honored for AdMagic. Like I said before, when I was thinking about AdMagic, I was just like, this would be cool to know what the creative process is before you get there. And knowing that we have like nearly like 50 students who have been an alum now, and they've walked away with lifelong mentors. They have an understanding of like what the creative process is, the ability to contribute in a room from day one, the rep of working with a client and things like that. You know, I would say it's an unforgettable experience for sure. And I know that the students, they get bonded as they go through this together. So it's dope.
Let me ask you this. Over the last few years, you know, we've interviewed on this platform a lot of different people from, you know, former mayors, sitting council people, state reps, stuff like that, professionals such as yourself. And everyone that I've talked to that has achieved a high level of success in their industry all talk about like the importance of mentors and, you know, having somebody that's been there before to like guide you through certain experiences and stuff. How important is the mentorship piece to the overall success of AdMagic, do you think?
Oh, it's huge. Your mentor is your person. This is the person that I'm going to talk to about what I need what I'm navigating with, the person that you can call when you're like, yo, I got an offer. I need to talk to you about this salary. How some relationships are, you don't really have that intimacy with a person. Right. And especially with a person who's understanding what you're going through, has been there, can guide you, can give you advice, can place you in different rooms to do that. Like I talk with the students a lot about identifying the people in your life. Like, not everyone's gonna be your mentor. Some people are gonna be a sponsor. Some people they'll talk about you in rooms that you might not ever be in. But they know what you do, they know what you want, and they know how to advocate for you. Some people will sit with you 30 minutes every 2 weeks, and they'll go over like, let's talk about the project. Let's talk about how this review went with your boss. Let's talk about how you want to set up your next, what you want to do. Let's look at your portfolio. Let's look at your resume, and they will mentor you through that. And it should be a lifelong relationship that you have with this person. And the best parts is when it's not transactional. And how do you form those relationships and really, I mean, even if you ask somebody like, yo, I'd love for you to be my mentor, or we've been working together, I want to take our relationship in a way and focus.
And they'd be like, yeah, give me $3,200.
Right? It's a commitment.
And pay for this lunch.
It's a commitment. And so how you go about that. But yeah, mentorship is everything. And it's cool to see as you get deeper into your relationships and deeper into your career, you can look at your relationships and see like, I have this community that I've created that I can really call upon, and they can call upon me too. Absolutely. Where they're like, yo, I need this insight, or hey, we're going to be talking to HBCUs. Can I talk to you about this? It's like, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think an underlying theme a lot about, what you're saying is utility and, having usefulness not only to yourself, but to a larger group, of people. And, being willing to help earnestly to where there isn't any quid pro quo or anything expected other than just an open ear, or if you have some form of expertise and you're able to help, then help. As JP says all the time, get on, put on.
Get on, put on, period.
It's very, very simple.
So yeah, it's about showing up and knowing who can do that in that capacity in different ways to have people in your life and know the levels you want to get to.
Yeah.
Like I talk with students a lot about, because sometimes you don't know what you want to do and sometimes you don't know how you want to get there, but you can identify maybe how you want to feel in a space. You can look at the top and be like, would I want any of their lives? And that's how you can start backing stuff out. That's how you can look at like, okay, well, I want to at least be mentored by this person or be around them to see how they work and stuff like that. And so the relationship part of anything is so important.
Exactly. In a relatively short amount of time, you've done a lot of culture changing, transformative work. What fuels you to keep creating and keep raising the bar?
Honestly, probably the possibility of what something can be. When I was making AdMagic, all I thought about was like the knowledge part. Like if I give these students this thing and excuse me, and to now have traveled with these students, I mean, I dreamt it, but I was like, oh my God, this is crazy if we're doing this. But the possibility of what can be the impact is just exciting to me, and being able to create and having an influence and giving them these resources it's heartwarming for me. And I get excited by it. Like I get excited as they get interested or as stuff clicks and I see somebody go from being very introverted and not be able to share their story to being able to be introverted and still network and still hold space and have a boundary and be able to articulate their story in a way, but not feel like they have to change who they are, not feeling like they can't be themselves, but also just like to be in this space. How do I do this and do this?
Right.
And so the growth in it is exciting to see them, but all of it, like what it could be, ad color, like I didn't even consider this would be a thing making it, but yeah, what the possibility of the impact for the students, the impact for the industry, because I look at certain students, they wouldn't have even known this existed at all.
Exactly.
They didn't even know this was a lane. And so thinking about what this does for the industry, the people who go into it, and the responsibility they feel, like students know I came through AdMagic. This is what I learned there. When I'm in certain spaces, they know the value of mentorship.
Right.
They know the value of those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Two-part question. First, what does the next 5 years look like for you professionally?
Well, it'll be fun, I'll tell you that. I think the next 5 years for sure looks like working on exciting projects, working with people that I value. I definitely want to work on things that challenge me, things that other people are really excited for. I love that also. Like when I look at people who have different projects, different brands that they like love to their core, just being around that energy is infectious of like, yeah, we're about to grind this out. We're about to run at this. We're about to do this. And so doing more of that professionally, but just, having fun through it all, traveling, enjoying it, making work that matters.
Right.
I think for sure that.
And then my second part to that is, what does the next 5 look like for AdMagic?
Oh, it's up. It's up for AdMagic. This year, we went to our Portland headquarters. We went to Amsterdam and got to experience what that was like to do work in a different culture.
Everybody I know that goes to Amsterdam like falls in love with that place. They absolutely love it. I got a friend that works for Spotify in the Ringer with Bill Simmons, and they, their headquarters is over there. So they went for like 2 weeks or something like that. And he's like, I'm never coming back home. Like, he just fell in love with
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
It's fun. It's safe. They just biking around. You got the canal. Like, where am I? What is happening right now? You could shoot over to London. Paris is right there.
Yeah.
So it's a cool place. But yeah, I mean, more expanding. I think one of the students, she asked me that. She was like, what from the cohort have you learned about us? And then what are you going to be taking what you learned to go on to the next? I was like, okay, question. But yeah, I definitely want to offer more international access of the idea that, because I mean, I've had students who haven't even been on a plane and they're in AdMagic and they're like, this is all brand new, let alone this program. And so continue to give them opportunities that expand how they think of themselves, how they think about creativity, how they think about work, how they think about the influence of marketing, because everything we do has been it's a result of advertising. What we buy, where we shop, where we live, like all of that has been framed up in a way where like, this is the decision I should make.
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
should go. You're like,
Right.
yeah, I know how you got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the expanding is going to be fun.
Yeah. And I think in 6 years will be the 10-year anniversary of AdMagic, which is crazy to even think about, because you look up and you're already wrapping up your 4th class and you like,
I know.
What's going on?
It's a bit wild to be wrapping up my 4th class. I'm definitely thinking about it like in college years. You're just like, oh, I just did a bit. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. 5 years, we're gonna do some fun, exciting things to celebrate what has happened. Celebrate, honestly, everything. Like the people who have been a panelist, been a mentor, advocated, spoke about it. All of that, I really want to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing my research, I happen to know you're a huge sneakerhead also, mainly in part to your sister. So give me 3 kicks that are in your rotation right now and any releases that you're eyeballing or looking forward to.
Oh, okay. What's in my rotation right now? Probably my Cement 3s. They're there. I'm gonna butcher this. What is it? Paninis? I know that's not how you say it, but fuck, I can't even think of how I say it. Those are in my rotation. I'll send you a picture.
All right, cool.
You can put that picture right here.
Yeah, I'll add it into
and
the
those are
episode.
them. Probably those, and then probably my Black Cat 4s. I love those.
The Black Cat 4s are
They're my favorite.
Slick, effective,
you
versatile.
You can put them in anything. Yeah. Any area, any lay is my favorite.
All right, cool. And then anything you're looking forward to as far as sneaker-wise that's coming up?
Yes. A ton of it. I was actually right by my hotel is Megan's out of home, and I'm excited for what she's gonna do. Like, it's always, the design space isn't clearly skewed female or Black, and so I love when I see women in that space designing and creating and having your own line and just doing the thing. So I'm looking at that work, and I'm just excited for her to have the opportunity to create work. There's some stuff coming out of the summer that I'm excited about that'll be dropping. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. Before we depart, anything else that you'd like to share, tell the audience, and most importantly, how can people reach you and contact you in regards to AdMagic?
So for AdMagic, a great way to reach us is on our website or Instagram. It's AdMagic. Website is -HBCU, and then our Instagram is .HBCU. So
okay.
Both, you can reach us at. But honestly, I mean, we talked about so much, but I think that what I would leave people with is just like remembering the impact that you make in all spaces. Like, the youth are listening, they are absorbing, they are taking it in, how you, every piece, like when they ask for a coffee, when they ask for, like, it's an impact. It changes their life. It changes how they view their world, how they view so many things. And so create space for them. It'll be different. They're a different generation. So remember what it was like to be new in the space. Remember what it was like to know nothing, and create that space of error. I think that's a huge thing that I think is sometimes missed, and you don't get to do trial and error, where it's like, allow them to grow through it and be a part of it and get it wrong. Like, it is, we are not neurosurgeons.
Right.
You can get it wrong.
Yeah, nobody's going to get hurt.
We're going to be okay.
Nobody's got to go to triage. It's all right.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you. Oh, this was fun.
I appreciate you joining us today and being able to tell your story. I hope I did you justice and asking the right questions to steer this conversation and get us to where we are. Make sure y'all follow this young lady on all social media.
Mine is Give Some Charity.
Give Some Charity.
At Give Some Charity, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was like looking your name up, and we've been following each other for a long time. I'm looking your name up, I'm like adding like give them something, like adding words and stuff, and I just can't find it. So Give Some Charity.
Give Some Charity.
We're gonna keep it real simple.
Give Some Charity, or my name. You can find me. I feel like
it'll pop.
Charity Pourhabib. It's just my name.
Right.
You're just gonna be able to find me.
Yeah.
But no, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us and for being one of our featured guests for Women's History Month. As a young, talented, amazing woman that's doing transformative work and making history. I'm Chad. Y'all had an hour of this. I think we did a pretty good job of telling this story. I'm out of here. Peace.
Thank you.